Welcome everyone to my third and final presentation. My name is Julie, and I apologize in advance. I have a very bad cold, so I'm going to be sounding very raspy. But first, we'll be starting off at the river. And here is a picture of the river while on the canoe. Alrighty, first up we have the leatherleaf air plant. This plant is all over the place in this ecosystem, and one interesting fact is that this plant changes colors depending on the season. So in the summer, it's a lot darker than it is in the winter. Next up, we have the Spanish moss. Fun fact about this plant is that it used to be used as packing material for mattresses, furniture, and car seats. Up next, we have our old friend, the cabbage palm. Fun fact about this plant is that the tallest known cabbage palm grew up to 90 feet tall. Alrighty, next up is the golden polyploidy. This plant was also very abundant in the ecosystem that we were in, and this plant grows on the old leaf bases of the cabbage palm. The next plant species we have here is the sweet gum tree. We've seen this tree before in the hardwood hammock, but interesting fact about this tree is that it is used to make furniture and plywood. And then here we have the bald cypress tree. Fun fact about this tree is that it's called bald cypress because it drops its leaves so early in the season. Next up we have the greenbrier vine. These vines are particularly hard to get rid of because of their extensive rhizomes, and they regenerate very quickly after being damaged or cut. And then here is the resurrection fern. The picture is kind of far away, but you can see it all around the limbs of the tree here. But interesting fact about this plant is that it is all over North America. So it goes all the way up north to Delaware, to Texas, and all the way down to Central and South America. And then here is Caesar's weed. Sorry, the picture's a little bit fuzzy. The canoe just started to pick up speed as soon as I tried to take the picture. But you can see the pink flower right in the middle and then the leaves going up the side. But fun fact about Caesar's weed is it's highly invasive and it is found in a multitude of ecosystems, including coastal dunes and swamps. Alrighty, next up we have the muscadine grapevine. So back in the 1800s, there was an epidemic going through on where a pest was killing all the grapes throughout Europe. So the wine industry plummeted during that time. But the muscadine grapevine has a resin that is a natural repellent to pests. So during that time, the American wine industry really took off because everyone was buying wine from America. And then here is the myrtle oak. We've seen this plant before in other ecosystems, but this plant produces an acorn as its fruit. Alrighty, next up we have the Savannah panicum. This plant, sorry, the picture is actually really fuzzy now that I'm looking at it, but the canoe decided to speed up as soon as I decided to take the picture. But anyway, this plant thrives in wet ecosystems, which makes sense because it was on the bank of the river. Alrighty, and then here is the sand live oak. You can see some of the underside of the leaves, and you can see how it is a tannish color and how some of the leaves are curled, indicating that it is a sand live oak. I apologize for the fuzzy picture. Me and Jonathan were holding on for dear life onto a branch when we were trying to take this picture, and it still turned out pretty fuzzy. But anyway, sand live oak. Alrighty, next up we have the Florida shiny spike mussel. Me and Johnny were taking a break from canoeing, and we saw this little dude in the banks of the river, and yeah, he was just chilling there. But these mussels filter and clean the freshwater ecosystem. Alrighty, and the next up is a video of a white-tailed deer. Me and Johnny saw some rustling, and we thought at first it was an alligator, but then popped out a deer. So it was a nice little surprise, and then this should be the next video. Yep, you can see him. This is when he was getting out of the water, and then this video is when he was swimming in the water to the other side. So yeah, he's just swimming there. Alrighty, next up is the southern toad. Me and Johnny found this little guy more on the land portion, which makes sense because they dig burrows in the hole. But then here is a photo of him jumping, and this is a juvenile, by the way, so he is still growing. The next ecosystem we will be discussing is the beaches and dunes. And then here is another view of the beach area. It was such a nice day to walk around and enjoy the water. Alrighty, first up we have the sea grape. This plant was very abundant in this ecosystem and it is very salt tolerant, so it is a perfect plant to be right near the ocean. And then here is a very familiar plant, the saw palmetto. Fun fact about this plant is that it was used back in the early 1900s to make soda. And then here we are again with the greenbrier. This plant was pretty much entangled within the sea grape at this ecosystem. Alrighty, next up we have the bitter panic grass. The Native Americans used to use this grass to treat fever, dry throat, and a cough. Next up we have the sea oats. This plant is known as the pioneer species because it is very drought resistant and it is immune to certain fungal infections that other plants are immune to. Alrighty, next up we have the black mangroves. These propagules were very present throughout the beach, but black mangroves are very valuable in restoring brackish and saltwater marshes due to its ability to filter and trap sediments. And now we have here the red mangrove. You can see the propagule in the middle of the screen. The red mangroves are specifically important to the the saltwater community because it's right on the edge of the shore and its roots provides a nursery habitat for many fishes and crustaceans. Alrighty, next up we have the brown algae. If you look in the screen, you can see tiny little berry-like structures. These are called pneumatocysts. These structures provide buoyancy because they are filled with air. And then here in this picture, you can see it's attached to some more seaweed. And then here is some salt meadow cordgrass. This plant is very important for shoreline protection from storms. Alrighty, next up we have the sea purslane. This plant is very important for the dunes because it helps prevent shore erosion by catching sand in between the leaves and the stem. Alrighty, and here is a bunch of smooth cordgrass rack. Rack can be very important for the dune ecosystem because it provides a habitat for crabs, snails, and other small crustaceans. Alrighty, next up is the railroad vine. Interesting fact about this plant is that the leaves and stem contain a white sap that helps protect them from any pests. Alrighty, next up we have the picture of the bay beans. This is kind of a dying plant, but one interesting fact about this plant is that the young pods and seeds are edible, but as they mature, the seeds become toxic. Alrighty, our first animal species here at the beaches is the green turtle. These are some old eggs. As you can see, they have hatched and the baby turtles have gone to the ocean. But the reason that I say this is a green turtle and not a loggerhead turtle is because the green turtle, their hatching season goes all the way to November, while the loggerhead hatching season ends in October. And we were at the beach in November, so therefore, and these eggs look pretty fresh. They look maybe a week or two old, so it was definitely probably a green turtle. Alrighty, I just took a shot of Benadryl, so hopefully I don't sound like a man anymore, but next up is the red paper wasp. These wasps are known to be non-aggressive, although that was proven correct because I was really putting that camera right up in his face and he was just chilling there until the very end when he was like, okay, Back up, get this camera on my face, but I still got the good picture. Alrighty, next up we have the Atlantic ghost crab. This dude is a little hard to see. He's a juvenile right in the middle of the screen. He was kind of running away from us, but you could see him. He's kind of transparent within the sand, but he's right there. And an interesting fact about these little dudes is that they do not need to return to the water to wet their gills, but they have little hairs located at the base of their legs to soak up the water. The next animal that we have here is the black vulture. These vultures will mate for life, and they will reuse nests if they are successful. Alrighty, next up is the coquina clams. I thought this one is really pretty, has a nice purple color to it. But these clams are an indicator species. If they are present, then the ecosystem is healthy. Alrighty, next up is the ruddy turnstone. An interesting fact about these birds is that they are extremely impressive flyers. They have been known to fly over 4,000 miles without stopping. Next up is the laughing gull. This bird was very present in this ecosystem, and it gets its name from its call because it sounds like ha ha and it sounds like it's laughing. Alrighty, next up is the ivory acorn barnacles. An interesting fact about these creatures is that they are able to be exposed to the air for some amount of time, but they have to be in the water occasionally, so during high tide. But you can see on this picture how they are more of a reddish color from the rust. They were on that abandoned boat, but so obviously these barnacles are no longer alive, they're deceased. And then here is the gopher tortoise. You can see this little guy hanging out in his burrow. He was chilling more near the parking lot rather than the beach, but it's pretty cool to see him there. An interesting fact about the gopher tortoise is that they really don't need to drink that much water since they eat a lot of grasses. They get most of their water from the plants. Alrighty, next up we have the false angel wing shell. The difference between the false angel wing and then the regular angel wing is the false angel wing lacks a spoon-like projection at the base of the shell. And even though we can't really see it because it's broken off, the false angel wings are a little bit larger than the regular angel wings. So that's how I used as an indicator to be a false angel wing. Alrighty, next up is the southern flat coil. This little dude was really cool to find. He's pretty much in perfect condition. But an interesting fact about this little dude is that they are very abundant throughout the United States on the Gulf of Mexico and on the Atlantic Ocean. Alrighty, next up is the Atlantic calico scallop. The reason that the color is black and not its regular like white or light orange color is because it has been buried under the sand for hundreds of years and iron oxide has been slowly seeping its way into the shell and changing colors. And the reason that it is now on the shore is from humans digging up the sand. Alrighty, next up is the brown pelican. You can tell that these are juveniles because they have a white underbelly and you can see that white stripe going across their wingspan. And the adults have brown stomachs and white heads. And then last but not least is the spectral bittersweet clam. These clams have about 30 to 40 smooth ribs, and their color also indicates the species as well, with the orange and some white stripes in there. But these clams can come in a variety of different colors, and sometimes the white stripes are very prominent, leaving a very beautiful shell. Alrighty, and then here is a picture of the springs we went to. Oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful place ever. Look at those clear crystal waters. And then here is the picture. It looks like a blue heron and a white ibis back there. It's a little bit fuzzy because the phone case got a little wet. And then this next picture, if you look right in the middle, there is a deer. It's really hard to see, but there was a mama deer and a baby deer, and it was the cutest thing ever. And that concludes my presentation. It was a pleasure working with everyone in this lab, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.